Thank you so much, Antonia. It was really lovely. I feel very fortunate to be honored here tonight by this wonderful, wonderful organization that I didn't know anything about, and now lots of people will know more about it because I don't have a quiet mouth. I'm really, really honored to be among such really, truly dedicated individuals and leaders in cancer research. I'm especially pleased to receive this award from you, Antonio. Antonio served on the board of NCCS for many, many years, and as a survivor himself and a creator, developer of one of the most breakthrough drugs in lymphoma care. He's truly someone I admire and love. So thank you. Each one of us who's had cancer, I'm just one of 12 million people living in this country today who've received a diagnosis of cancer, and if we count the family and loved ones of everyone who's been diagnosed, there's an old saying that goes that when someone in the family has cancer, the whole family has cancer. So to all of you who have been caregivers to people who've loved and loved people with cancer, I salute you here tonight as well. I would be remiss if I didn't single out the company I'm in. Everyone is well-spoken and wonderfully accomplished, but Larry Norton and Ken Anderson have taken care of some of my closest colleagues in the cancer advocacy community and friends over many years. Larry has never, even when he stopped answering his email, he always took a call from me and from anyone, really. So that was just a ruse, Larry. No one ever believed it. Like many of you who pursued a career in cancer research, your dedication to the field of science was born of a personal experience with cancer that compelled you to want to find answers to some of the most difficult questions that cancer raises. I'm here tonight because as a 3-time survivor of cancer, I found myself asking the question, why some people survive and others don't? Why me and why not others with seemingly the same diagnosis? Through my questioning, I came to know the word survivorship, and its definition spoke to me as a rational way of explaining the experience of living with, through, and beyond cancer, even if the diagnosis itself is more than irrational, especially in an otherwise young and healthy individual. And it also is rational to realize that whether one lives for 1 month, 1 year, or many decades beyond the diagnosis, how an individual accesses care, how much support they have, their economic circumstances, their cultural background and religious beliefs, and their ability to make literate and informed decisions all have a bearing on their survivorship. My cancer survivorship began when our son Jonathan was 4 weeks old. I was 24. I'll do the math for you. I'm going to be 65. He'll be 40. I was diagnosed with what probably in retrospect was stage 2B Hodgkin's disease, but because this is pre-CAT scans, and all they had was a gallium scan, and I was 4 weeks postpartum, and they did the gallium scan and the lymphangiogram, and everything lit up on me because I was 4 weeks postpartum and every tissue in my body was engorged. So it was hard to get an accurate diagnosis, but they were not hopeful that I would live 2 years at that time because I could not participate in a clinical trial for Hodgkin's disease at Georgetown Hospital because I was 4 weeks postpartum. So when you tell me I can't do something, I'm absolutely determined to get it done. And I swore that if I lived for 2 years and then could live to see my son grow up, that I would dedicate the rest of my life to doing something about this disease, and particularly about clinical research that I think is absolutely invaluable to whatever we do in the future. Finding out how drugs work in actual people is critical. 12 years later, after my initial treatment, I had a recurrence. The drugs that were in clinical trial in 1971 when I was diagnosed, they were in phase 2 research, was MOP, tried and true original protocol for chemotherapy for Hodgkin's. So I lived long enough to be able to be treated again, which has made me an absolute zealot. In 2007, I had lived long enough to be diagnosed with valve and vessel disease most likely due to the cobalt radiation I received to my chest when I was 24. I have 2 stents in my coronary artery. I truly am bionic. Artery, and in 2008, diagnosed with breast cancer in both breasts, along the probably the lines where the radiation was most prevalent in my mediastinum. So when I turn 65 later this year, I will officially be too old to die young. And so I'll conclude by saying that I'm very privileged to have experienced my own journey of survivorship over nearly 40 years, to have lived to watch our son grow up. He's still not married, it's driving me crazy. When we were told that I probably wouldn't live to see his 2nd birthday, and to live my life over this time as an advocate for those whose faces many of us will never see, or whose voices many of us will never hear. Voices that tell the suffering and the joy that are part of a diagnosis of cancer, and voices that make up a chorus of gratitude for the work people in this room do to create new generations of survivors. Please, all of you know how many people are filled with heartfelt appreciation for this organization, for the work of the people in this room, the people who support that work, and how many hopes will be realized because of what you're doing to devote your lives to finding answers to some of the most difficult questions in cancer research. I'm really honored and very humbled to be recognized with all of you. Thank you.